The topic of the day: should Amazon release a Scribe color? You know that Amazon's been around for a very long time, and Color's been around almost as long as Amazon. Color started to come out in 2009, the first wave lasting until 2013. Then in 2019, the second wave happened. This is part of the second wave, all starting with iReader and the C6. The thing about Amazon is that they never pioneer anything. They always kind of sit back and wait for everyone to do something, and then they do it better. They weren't the first to do audio, they weren't the first to do glow light, they weren't the first to do note-taking, they weren't the first to do e-readers. But now would be the time for them to strike. They already got their foot in the door and said, you know what, let's do note-taking, and they did. And they released this, the Kindle Scribe. On the left is the Kindle Scribe, on the right is the Onyx Books Tab Ultra C. Today we're going to find out, just doing a casual video, should Amazon release a color Scribe? It makes sense, honestly. It really does at this point. They're closer than ever. Two of the big three, Kobo and Amazon, are now doing e-notes, and it's getting closer and closer to one of them adopting color. It's just who's going to be first, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, or Amazon, we don't know. First, let's just look at this as a face value. The Amazon looks better. It's 300 ppi. So is this, but look how gray that looks. And you can compare the polymer background that we use for all of our reviews, how white this is, and how white that is, but how gray that is. That is the trade-off with color e-paper, especially Kaleido 3. It has gotten a little bit better on Kaleido 3, but it's still present. It is much more gray. Let's go to here to show you a little bit of a white space difference. Look at that. That is significantly more gray. Same shot, same light across the whole screen here. It's just that looks like it's mixed with some blues and greens and browns, whereas this almost looks like there's just the absence of any color. All you're seeing is a little bit of the materials utilized in the EPD. The reason why we can't do a full-on comparison of these two outside of reading and notes is because this is a multimedia hyper tablet with everything under the sun. Google Play, unlimited ecosystems, every single feature imaginable, SD card support, touchscreen, Wacom, dual audio, microphones, everything. This is just a big old e-reader with a Wacom layer. That's it. So let's dive in. Can't show audio, video, none of that stuff. So we're going to go to the Amazon Kindle app because honestly, the Neo reader isn't that great. It's really not going to break grounds or anything like that. So what we're going to do is just go to Spy Family here. Hope we're not blowing anything for you guys because this is just meant to show you a manga experience here. So looking at this right now, the Kindle looks better. Significantly better. And that's because it has an unhindered screen. There's no color array filter which allows color to shine through. There doesn't need to be because there isn't one. So it ends up looking a little bit worse on the Onyx, but the Onyx has endless amount of possibilities. It's color, number one. You might say, well, I don't need color. Well, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Watch, I don't need color now, but I have it if I need it. But that comes with the trade-off. That's the background again. Also, Onyx allows you to change all these settings: Regal, HD, Balance, Fast, Ultra Fast. So when I change it to HD, it now looks virtually the same as that. And you might say, it's a little bit dark, but you know what? They have you covered as well. Because this is an Android Onyx ebook reader, you can change all of that stuff. You can change the vivid enhancement. You can change the color brightness. You can change the dark contrast enhancement. And you can really make it your own to make it look almost virtually identical to the Amazon, albeit the whole thing is skinned a little bit darker than the Amazon. The Amazon might feel a little bit faster too, you might say. It's pretty quick. Well, you know what? They have you covered yet again because they have ultra fast mode, which now makes it faster and it shows you the page turn animations, whereas this one eliminates that. They don't have the animation anymore because this is the Kindle app, whereas this is a Kindle. So that's the difference in those two right there. I just realized that doesn't have a gesture support. Amazon always makes you do something different when you have to go back. Sometimes the back arrows are in different places, so it can be a little bit confusing. Let's open up an ebook. It doesn't matter which one because we're just going to be comparing them as is here. So with the Amazon, you tap the top right around here. Once you X out that, tap the top, and then we can change our fonts. So we're going to go as big as possible on both of these, and we're going to change the e-ink center to HD with everything off, just so we can get a good representation of what the screen looks like. Now again, this is very white, but in terms of the actual screen condition and quality, they're identical. They're both 300 ppi, they're both 10.3, 10.2, so you're not going to find any fuzziness on this or any depixelations on that or anything like that. They're going to be pretty much exactly the same because there's no difference. In fact, they both come from the same company. They both come from e-ink. So that's the reality when you're long pressing on things. You just get different things here now because look, I can take a highlight and that's it. I've highlighted it. But with this, I can highlight in blue and yellow and lilac and orange and whatever I want because I have all this potential to do colors, to do different things. And if you're on the original ebook reading app, you can take notes on it, which the Amazon doesn't even allow you to do. You can take sticky notes. Sticky notes allows you to tap something like that and then do a handwritten note and then click out of it, at which point it's discoverable right there via a little tiny thing. But you can't actually write on a Kindle book, which is a little bit strange seeing that this is their only singular e-note in their lineup and the only one with Wacom or any sort of EMR stylus pen support. In fact, they don't allow you to do anything on the ebook. It's just touch, sticky note, or move to the right side. Now you might be saying, well, let's get into the e-note stuff because that is true. That's why we're here. We're here to look at it being an e-note, and this is Amazon's entry into the e-note world. And I will say, it was underwhelming because when we got this, we realized it just doesn't have any features. Look at the absolute chasm between these two in terms of features. This has, read it out everybody, a pen, a highlighter, a eraser, a make the pen into a capacitive, and then an undo. That's it. That's the whole palette. This is next level. You have 5 customizable pens with a ton of different colors. You have line width. You can extend the canvas 1 by 1, 2 by 1, 1 by 2, etc. You can make a ton of different shapes. If I wanted to make a triangle in orange red with big and breaks, I can do that. You couldn't even try to attempt that. You'd have to grab a ruler and then you'd have to make your little breaks like that, in which case you run the risk of it not being straight and you touching the screen. You also have layers. You have 6 layers you can choose. You have lasso tool. You have disable various things like the touch, the top bar. You have synchronize. You have hundreds of templates, which is absolutely insane. You have zoom, text, insert. You can insert recorder, images, attachments, links, hyperlinks, files. You can add pages. You can convert text. You can even share exactly what you've written, exactly what you've drawn to applications of your choosing. You just go like that. You say export, bring up a bunch of applications so you can send it. I can send this to my Kindle and read it on here. I mean, I can't do anything like that on the Scribe. And we're not trying to bash the Scribe. I absolutely adore the Scribe. I think it's great at what it is, but it can't do anything. That is the sheer fact that it just can't do anything. I have some pens. I have pen, fountain, marker, in which case Onyx just has significantly more pens and 16 colors. You only get 5 different thicknesses, and even when you do, the minimum and smallest aren't even that different. Between the biggest and the smallest, there's no disparity between the actual line thicknesses. So pressure sensitivity works, but it doesn't even really work that well. Now we get into the writing feel. We have used these extensively. We've done a ton of videos on this. So trust us, we're not tied to anyone, and I will tell you, the Scribe feels way better. Gives you a little chill through your wrist when you write on the Scribe. It's not the best, but compared to this, it's much better. And we're using a third-party pen to be impartial to both of these brands. We're not using an Onyx pen, nor are we using a Scribe. We're using an iReader pen, but they actually both use the exact same tips in the iReader pen. They are the felt graphite composite Wacom tips. So whether I had a Scribe pen or an Onyx Pen 2 Pro, it's of no consequence, but just for good measure, we did that. The Onyx is glidey, and you might say that's great because it's subjective. It's not anything right or wrong. I don't like my writing experience to be glidey. I want my writing experience to be real. And this one isn't. It's very smooth and it's slippery. It slips off, there's no feedback, and I can't feel any grit in the screen almost whatsoever. Yes, you can put screen protectors on that, but you can put screen protectors on this. We're talking about face value here. Also, it has a massive camera bump at the back, so this thing is actually not very stable because it doesn't have rubber stoppers like the Scribe. You actually can't move this around on the table. It's got rubber stoppers on the back. It also lays flush. This doesn't lay flush. So it actually bounces up and down as you're writing it. That's a real thing. That's real. The Scribe, however, it's very quick, just as quick as this on normal mode. This will be quicker on ultra fast, but that's a variable that only this has. You can't trigger any A2 mode or speed mode on the Scribe, so that's not fair. HD mode versus HD mode, they're about the same speed, but this feels so much nicer. You get that feedback in the pen. You really feel it through your fingertips. It makes a noise across the screen. This makes literally almost no noise, and it's very slippery. This has a good amount of grip to it. This one doesn't have nearly any grip. It just slides across the page. So it's your own preference, but a lot of people push for realism, realistic note-taking feel, and that's not what you will find on an Onyx. Will you find 98% of other things on the Onyx? Absolutely. This only does barely 2% of what this can do. This just doesn't have any features. These are the raw facts. We're showing these side by side. And if you wanted to go outside of this, you wanted to go outside of the note-taking section, this doesn't have anything outside of a web browser. That's where it lives and dies, because this has a web browser, but this also has Google Play with millions of applications, and I can just download Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Kobo, Aldeco, Moonplus Reader, Space Desk. Use this as a secondary monitor for my PC on ultrafast, and I now have a 10.3-inch color e-ink monitor at only a few hundred bobos. So there's all these things you have to consider when you're saying, you know what, I want a Scribe because it has all my Amazon books. Well, so does this. This has all of your Amazon content right here. And if you don't believe us, we will very much be very forthcoming with you and tell you that everything on here is on here. In fact, if you go to the library, you will see all the things on here are on here because we're linked with the Amazon account. So in terms of ecosystem availability and access, you can't even give it up to the Scribe because this has the Amazon app. But if you say, you know what, I want to go outside of it being a Kindle, you've opened up your entire world because this can be anything. Does it look more gray? Yes. Is it more expensive? Slightly. But it is wildly more usable by a very big margin. So you have to consider these things when you're looking at a Scribe and you're looking at the latest color device. And if you know what, if you don't want color, you can buy the Tab Ultra. That's still a contender, and then it looks just as good as this. If not, I would say a little bit better. For GoodyReader.com, this is Peter.